So we are doing another reading of the Srimad Bhagavatam here for you at Bhagavatam Bites. Continuing in the fourth canto. Where are we at?
Canto 4, chapter 28, text 28.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Text 28. King Paranjan gave up his body while remembering his wife, and consequently in his next life he became a very beautiful and well-situated woman. He took his next birth as the daughter of King Vidarbha in the very house of the king. Purport. Since King Paranjan thought of his wife at the time of death, he attained the body of a woman in his next life. This verifies the following verse in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 8, text 6. Yam yam vapi smaram bhavam tyaji ante kale baram. Tam tam evaiti kunteya sadatad bhava bhavitaha. Whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, that state he will attain without fail. I got nothing to say.
It just reminds me, this is Chitralila Devi, when she gave class on Sunday, she was talking about this pastime, the pastime of Vidarbha, and what happened to her. So all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, that's where it is in the Bhagavatam. So, so we'll be reading this. And of course the Yam Yam Vapi Smaram Bhavam verse, which means whatever state you remember when you quit your body, that's the state that you attain. So, we've been going back and forth on this one. So whatever, the challenge is that, even if I've tried my whole life to be a good devotee, but at the time of death, I'm thinking of the mosquitoes that are biting me or the, whatever, then are we going to be transferred to become a mosquito, or are we going to have to live as some other kind of animal that gets bitten by mosquitoes, whatever it might be. Although I think it's, in one sense, it is a clear injunction that our consciousness at the time of death is what will determine our next birth. There's also the grace of God. What is it? There's one place, I'm pretty sure, scripturally it explains that if you see Lord Jagannath just once on the Ratha Yatra cart, so that's why it's so beneficial for Ratha Yatras to happen, because everyone gets darshan of the Lord, that at the time of death, although all your consciousness will be a bit like a roulette wheel with flashing images of so many different things that I've seen in this life, but your consciousness will stop on that picture of Lord Jagannath, and you'll become liberated. So that's pretty powerful. And also there's one story of Tamal Krishna Maharaj, actually, when he was asked by Srila Prabhupada to help build the Vrindavan temple, and he was so busy, ordering supplies, dealing with people stealing stuff, trying to deal with so many things in India. And he said to Prabhupada, I can hardly even chant my rounds, what to speak of reading, no preaching. He said, all I think about is bricks and mortar. What's going to happen if I die? All I'm thinking about is bricks and mortar. And Prabhupada said, don't worry. Lord Chaitanya will force himself into your mind at the time of death and take you back to Godhead. So like that, so that we can't forget that the grace of the Lord will be there. So, anyway, a few thoughts. What do you think?
Nothing.
Well, I just thought you might have a thought on those thoughts. Okay. When a living entity is accustomed to think of a particular subject matter or become absorbed in a certain type of thought, he will think of that subject at the time of death. At the time of death, one will think of the subject that has occupied his life while he was awake, lightly sleeping or dreaming, or while he was deeply sleeping. After falling from the association of the Supreme Lord, the living entity thus transmigrates from one bodily form to another according to nature's course, until he finally attains the human form. If he is absorbed in material thoughts and ignorant of spiritual life, and if he does not take shelter under the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Govinda, who solves all questions of birth and death, he will become a woman in the next life, especially if he thinks of his wife. As stated in Srimad Bhagavatam 3:31:1, Karma na daiva netrena. A living entity acts piously and impiously, and sometimes in both ways. All actions are taken into account, and the living entity is offered a new body by his superiors. Although King Puranjan was overly attached to his wife, he nonetheless performed many pious fruitive activities. Consequently, although he took the form of a woman, he was given a chance to be the daughter of a powerful king. Interesting. As confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 6:41, Prapya punya kritam lokan ushitva shashwati samaha suchi nam sri matam gehe yoga brasto bijayate. The unsuccessful yogi, after many, many years of enjoyment on the planets of the pious living entities, is born into a family of righteous people or into a family of rich aristocracy. So like this, we see that although it may appear bad, one is born into an awful or terrible situation, but depending on the activities that we perform throughout our life, the karmic response will also be there. So she wasn't born as a woman in a leper colony or born as a woman wherever in some other situation, but was born in the family of a pious king, which meant that because the situation is that also according to one's specifically bhakti activities, then one picks up where one has left off. So, the saying is that if you made it up to 75% in this life and your balance or your bhakti credit is 75, in your next life you start at 75 or 76, prepared to make that 76th step. And of course, you can never lose those bhakti credits. They can become covered by the illusory energy, but they're there as soon as we start to try to go to the cash point or ATM and make a withdrawal, and we start punching in the numbers like, I want to remember Krishna, I want to remember Krishna, and then all of a sudden, very quickly, which is why some devotees we see, people may come from a very degraded situation, but as soon as they get connected with bhakti and devotees, it's like, wow, how did they start chanting so quickly? How did they start following so quickly? And we see like almost miraculous types of things like that.
Final paragraph. If a person falls from the path of Bhakti Yoga, God realization, due to attachment to fruitive activity, philosophical speculation, or mystic yoga, he is given a chance to take birth in a high and rich family. The higher authorities appointed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead thus render justice to the living entity according to the living entity's desires. Although King Puranjan was overly absorbed in thoughts of his wife and thus became a woman, he took birth in the family of a king due to his previous pious activities. The conclusion is that all our activities are taken into consideration before we are awarded another body. Narada Muni therefore advised Vyasadeva that one should take to Krishna consciousness, devotional service, and abandon all ordinary occupational duties. This advice was also given by Lord Krishna himself. Although a devotee may fall from the path of spiritual consciousness, he will nonetheless attain a human body in the home of a devotee or a rich man. In this way, one can resume his devotional service. Yeah, so you don't actually lose anything if you don't make it. Okay? And it says here that the conclusion is that all our activities are taken into consideration before we are awarded another body. So that's like the small print to the verse that was quoted from the Bhagavad Gita.
Mm. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
You know, because that's quite black and white. It's like the class today, Raj Vihari Prabhu was giving a morning class, and then he was saying that Krishna, like Prabhupada was saying, he was quoting Prabhupada that Krishna is hard, not hard-hearted, but just a bit hard. And so he makes you fast all day on his parents' day, but Radharani's soft and kind, so then you just fast half day. And I was thinking, yes, when you read this statement in the Bhagavad Gita, it's like, that's it. Whatever state you remember when you quit your body, that you're going to attain it without fail. And it can be like, oh my God, you know, because you can't even control what's happening when you leave your body, even if you have the privilege of leaving your body in a conscious and whatever state, you know, because you could just fall off the balcony or just make some toast and get electrocuted, whatever. So then it's like Prabhupada, the pure devotees, they give the, not that they're contradicting Krishna or trying to undermine him, but it's like the grandfather, like, it's okay, you know. And so then you read, the conclusion is that, all your activities will be taken into consideration before saying, okay, so even if I'm acting like a wally towards the end or whatever, you know, at least, you know, Krishna's going to look at, I used to serve like the Sunday feast or something, you know. I went out on Harinam and gave lollipops or something. You know, it's like, at least look at what I did. So at least I get a decent birth like that.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, it's definitely. Sorry, were you done?
Yeah, I'm done.
Yeah, it definitely is one to continue to unpack, and that's such a powerful perspective. It isn't so black and white. Like, let's say you somehow die in a bank vault surrounded by money, and you're just thinking of money. Does that necessarily mean in your next life you're going to be born rich? No, but it may mean that you're born somehow in the presence of, maybe you'll be born in a bank vault with lots of money. It doesn't mean that it's going to be yours. But somehow, or you may be born next to a very rich or wealthy person, or you might even be a street bum, you know, like living next to wealthy people or something. So there may be some aspect of Lakshmi or money that will be involved according to the consciousness. But it doesn't necessarily mean, as you were saying, that because everything is taken into account. So like that. So interesting perspectives. Okay, I think we'll finish there. We only did one verse today, but dove deep and really beautiful. Every purport by Srila Prabhupada could unpack so many conversations. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.